Hey guys, this is MusicTechHelpGuy, and today I want to show you the Infected Mushroom Pusher plugin from Waves. The IM Pusher was developed with Israeli music duo Infected Mushroom, and it's essentially a multi-band sonic enhancer, a stereo spreader, as well as a limiter and clipper all in one. I love how simple it is to use because it's basically just 6 knobs that do all the work, plus an input module and an output module. Obviously, I find this most useful on electronic music, but I found it pretty useful to enhance electric guitar as well. You can use it on individual tracks, groups of instruments, or as a mastering plugin to enhance your entire mix. It also has very low latency, so you can use it in the studio, but you can also use it live on stage if you're a DJ. So before I get into what everything does, let me give you an example of what it can do on an entire mix. Right now, I just have it on my master stereo output over here. And so you'll hear basically what it's doing to my entire session. And what I'll do is I'll turn on and off the bypass so you can get a feel of what it can do. So let's start with it on, and then I'll bypass it, and then I'll switch back and forth so you can hear the difference. Alright, so it's not just making the overall volume louder, it's enhancing the high end, the low end, the mid-range, it's giving it a stereo spread, and it's also limiting the track, and I'm achieving maximum loudness all within this one plugin. Alright, so I've reset the plugin. Let me go through each of the knobs and show you what everything does. So let's start with the input gain here. The input knob basically controls the level of the signal going into the plugin. And the input knob has an LED here in the middle, and this LED can basically show 3 different colors, and it can also be off like it is now. So if the LED is off, this basically means that the signal coming into the plugin is too low. If it's green, that means that you have a good signal coming into the plugin. Yellow means you have an optimal signal coming into the plugin, and red is a very hot signal going into the plugin, so too much. So let me just press play here, and I'll adjust the input until the LED rides on the yellow color. And there we go. So I just pulled it up just a touch. All right, the next thing I want to show you are the high frequency, body, and low frequency controls. These 3 knobs work together as a multi-band sonic enhancer. So this enhances the highs, the body enhances the mid-range, and the low obviously enhances the lows. So for each one of these, there's an in-out button, which basically just bypasses that module. So what I'll do is I'll give our track a little bit of a high frequency boost, and then I will bypass and put this in so you can hear the difference. So just keep in mind that these knobs are not just like an EQ. You're not just boosting the high frequencies like you would with an EQ. This is actually a harmonic sonic enhancer. So it actually enhances the overtone series at a certain frequency. The body adjusts the mid-range, so let's play around with that. Very subtle boost, but it just gives the mid-range a little bit more body. And then the low frequency, you can do the same, but the low frequency is a little bit different in that you can choose the starting frequency of where you want the enhancer to kick in. Now, basically, it helps if you know what the key of the song is. I happen to know that this song is in F minor, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my low frequency enhancement just by clicking on this little down arrow here to start on the note F. So basically, we're using F as sort of like a root frequency, a root or our fundamental note for our low frequency enhancement. So let's bump that up a bit, and then I'll A/B that as well. So that gives our sub and our kick drum a little bit more body, but the body is within the key of the song. So let me go ahead and just bypass the whole thing and play the before and after just with the input, high body, and low knobs in. Yeah, so even just those three are giving the whole track a bit of a lift. So that's really nice. All right, the next thing we can control is this stereo image. It's just a stereo spreader. Just spreads, it doesn't spread the entire frequency range. It just spreads the high frequencies. And this is important because in electronic music, it's often played in clubs. So we don't, and sometimes those clubs, their sound systems are in mono. And the main thing we don't want to lose is we don't want our low frequencies to be subject to phase cancellation. So the stereo image knob only spreads the high frequencies. It does not spread the low frequencies, therefore keeping the bass pretty center or wherever you have it in the mix, but it should be center and mostly mono if you want this to play in the clubs the best that they can. So let me just pull the stereo image up just so we can find a nice spread that we like. Cool, let me start over here somewhere. Let's see what that sounds like. Cool, that's giving us a really nice sort of, giving us a little bit more width and making the mix sound a little bit bigger, like I said, particularly in the high end. All right, so let's move on to the magic knob. Now, the magic knob excites and boosts the dynamics of all frequencies at once. So this is great to add to drums, drum groups, or even full mixes. So this is going to be in addition to the high, mid, and low frequency enhancement that we did here, but this is more or less going to enhance the dynamics of it, not necessarily the harmonics like we did at the high body and low knobs. So let's play around with that. And you'll also notice that the magic knob is tied into the stereo image as well, so that's why I went over the stereo image first. All right, cool. There's two sliders around the magic knob. There's a dynamic punch slider, and there's also a focus slider. The dynamic punch just basically adds punch and clarity to the dynamics. So your kick, your snare are going to pop through a little bit better. The focus adds a high to mid-range dynamic boost. So it basically is going to give the whole mix a little bit more clarity in the high and mid range. So let me start with these down, and I'll pull both of them up, and then I'll A/B with the magic knob on and off. Cool, so that's the magic knob. That's really, really cool. The last knob is the push knob. Now, the push knob is essentially going to add overall gain to your mix or to the track in one of two ways. There's a clipping mode and a limit mode. I prefer the limiting mode because it basically works like a hard brick wall limiter. Essentially, no matter how far you push up the volume here, the plugin will never exceed negative 0.1 dBFS. So no matter how hard you drive the plugin, this is going to stay at that level or less. So again, it works as a hard brick wall limiter, which is perfect for electronic and dance music. So I'm going to use the limit mode. The clip mode tends to add some distortion, which I don't like. So I'm going to use the limit mode. And you'll see as I pull this up, the meter here is a gain reduction meter. So it'll show you gain reduction as you pull up the limiter. And you can see in my stereo out over here, it never exceeds negative 0.1. So that's great. Now, lastly, there's an output attenuator. This never goes above 0, but you can pull it down below 0. So if you have, say, on the master, we're pretty much going to keep this at 0, but let's say this was on like a group of instruments or an individual instrument, and all the enhancements that you're doing to it is making the instrument sit too loud in the mix. You can sort of pull the output down so that your input and output levels sort of match. Your input dry signal before it hits the pusher and your output signal after it hits the pusher are the same, so you can get equal loudness out of it. So that's all that does. It's just an output attenuator. All right, so let's go ahead and listen to the track again. I'm going to start the track over here somewhere. And then what I'll do is, like I did before, I'll start with it on, and then I'll kick it out and kick it back in a few times so you can hear the difference. All right, so there you go. That's the Infected Mushroom Pusher plugin from Waves. So hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.